Welcome back to my gathering basket. My name is Danelle. Thank you for joining me. It's been a month. I hated missing a week of podcasting or an episode, but it has been quite a month of May and now halfway into June, and I just wasn't able to find a time to record, let alone get to the public library to upload. So I am so sorry. Probably didn't miss me, but I missed doing it. I have a bunch of things that I was able to accomplish during that time period though. A lot of it outside, more homestead. I was involved in a sheep shearing, which I kind of showed some video about last time and totally forgot to talk about. So I've been to the fiber mill to pick up some roving and done a lot of little bits of knitting here and there and some spinning. So I know I won't be able to cover everything that I've done since I talked to you last, but I'll just kind of pick up the highlights. One of which was this monster here. The other day I had one day off and I was going to get a whole bunch of things done, and the contractor showed up to replace all my windows out of the blue. So I had to very quickly tear apart cover all my yarn, and because I knew it was going to be dusty. They were actually very good. But I took this whole setup apart. That's part of the reason why I didn't record. And I found out that this little philodendron, they have little roots, and it had grown into all of my yarn. So even my plants are fiber loving. Anyway. Speaking of fiber, I have actually done a lot of spinning. Anybody else hoping to be involved in Tour de Fleece this year? Coming up in just a few weeks. So I'm trying to get all my wheels ready and my plans together. I am going to be participating with the team from Shave 'em to Save 'em from the Livestock Conservancy. I've talked about them quite a bit. And I have several. I've got some Jacob roving and my Florida cracker that I need to spin up. At least those two. I'd really like to get spun up. So that's my goal there, but I'm also trying to get things done for the state fair. The state fair here in Missouri is not until the first part of August, but we have to have all of our entries declared and registered by, I believe it's the middle of July. So I just have a few more weeks to be able to figure out, can I accomplish my goals? Pretty sure I was hoping to have 10 different things spun, and right now I'm kind of hoping I can have half of that. But I've gotten a couple things spun, at least samples. I haven't done full projects, but I was able to get at least some sampling done. One of those is, and I think I showed this to you, this pretty silk and yak blend. And I love the colors. It's just a variegated roving, but I had that. This is just under half. When I was splitting the braid, I wanted to do a 2-ply lace. And when I was splitting the braid, there was one piece that had already been split and was just, it was like an extra that they put on. So I thought I would go ahead and spin that up as just kind of a sample to see what I could do. And this is what I got. I am so happy with this. And I don't remember the yardage. It was like 170 or so when I got this all done. So given that this is, I'm sure I didn't weigh it, I should have, but it's under an ounce. So very nice, thin lace spinning. So I have this part done, and it will be enough that I can go ahead and enter this one in the exotic fiber blends, I believe. So I have one sample finished, and then I have a lot to go back and do, and it's not super, I'm looking at it, and there's one really thick spot right in the middle here. Why do you always, hopefully that won't be the part that the judges pick up. But I have that sample done. And then this was some fiber that I had from one of my favorite dyers, Peggy of the 100th Sheep. I had this little, I believe it was a 2-ounce, she used to sell little butterflies, just short pieces of roving, and she would, the way she folded them and then would tie the ribbon, it looked like a little butterfly. So I've had this sitting around for a number of years, and I finally decided it was time to spin it up. So one of the categories is bulky, and that is probably the bulkiest I have ever spun. So the funny part was I did this, and it seemed like it took me forever to do because it was so thin. And then this was my next project. And I am not a bulky spinner. I don't tend to use a lot of bulky yarns. So this was quite an exercise for me. It spun up very quick, obviously. And I'm really hoping, I need to measure it because the fair guidelines, you have to have 2-yard skeins and a minimum of 40 yards. So I'm hoping I have 40. It did come out to 7 to 8 wraps per inch is what I measured it as. So there's my bulky entry. And again, you can see there's some that's a little bit thinner and some that's a little bit thicker, obviously. It's not perfect, but it's probably the best bulky that I have produced so far. So I need to try some more. There's one other category that it's for woolen spun, and it has to be bulky. And the guidelines said between 2 and 9 wraps per inch. That's super chunky. So I may give that a try with some of this bulk roving like I have here, and see if I can actually spin a woolen bulky. This one, I'm fairly certain I did it worsted. So anyway, there's 2 entries, extremely different between the two, which was a lot of fun. So that's been, oh, and then I had a third spin that I did as well. This is my cotton entry, and this was some Sea Island cotton that I bought in a sampler. And I think I had, this was a 20-gram sample, and I believe I spun somewhere around 140 yards-ish on this. And you can tell it's fairly fine as well, my favorite way to spin, and I just really like spinning the cotton. So I'm not sure, I may send this through the wheel one more time and tighten up the ply twist. I think it's okay the way it is. See there? But I might try twisting it. I don't know. It has so much drape right now. So maybe I just need to go ahead and sample this a little bit. But this was a part of a sampler. I'm going to take off the lid so there's not a glare. From Brickmore Creations. And they have a website, which I will link below. And they have these, it actually came with 5 samples, I believe. It's a little hard to tell, but this is it's almost a red-brown, and they're natural green. And if you've never worked with natural colored cotton before, once you finish it and set the twist, and there's so many different variations in how you set cotton, but I found that the color really pops out after you've heat set it, almost or to the point of boiling. So this will pop out as a really pretty kind of olive green, and this one spins up and sets as a really pretty red brown. And then this is Akala cotton, which I have not spun. It's supposed to be one of the whitest. That one may be next on my list. And then I've got Too Much Packing. Anyway, there is the Akala. I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced. And I also had some Pima, and I believe I have that in a project bag somewhere. The kit came with a Tockley, which is a little metal, very fine tipped drop spindle, basically, that I think I've shown that before, that is traditionally used with cotton. So this came with, like I said, the 5 samples, a little Tockley, and a spinning bowl. And I thought, I can't remember now how much it was, but it was a very affordable way to try several different kinds of cotton. In the past, basically what I have spun is, other than my homegrown, just been generic cotton. So each of these has a different staple length, a little bit different feel, more slippery, more matte. I mean, there's just, every kind is a little bit different. So this is, and then it also had a really really nice, concise booklet on spinning cotton. And again, this is from Brookmore Creations. There's their information, and I'll also link it below. This is called their sampler. They call their cotton easy to spin roving, and let me tell you, it drafted so nicely. It didn't take nearly as long to spin this up as I would have thought that it would, that I expected it to. So really, really enjoyed this cotton. It is so soft. Of course, Sea Island cotton is. It's a longer stapled cotton, and that helped. It spun very nicely. So I have my plant-based category for the fair as well. So that's 3 down. And then I think I have the alpaca angora that took me years to spin that I finally showed you, and I did not have that done in time to enter last year, which means that I can put it in for this year. So that's 4 so far. I also have, I told you I went to the mill. We went to HLA Fiber Mill. It was about a 3-hour drive, 2.5 to 3, something like that. And last spring, I had given her a bunch of fleeces. Some of them I had had sitting around for quite a few years, including a llama fleece that I had bought probably 2013-ish. So I took it to her and I said, I wanted to process this myself. It's not getting done. Just make it roving. And I got back enough to fill a 5-gallon bucket, basically, of this puffy, soft, almost, it's not pencil roving, but this nice, fluffy, you can see from the ends there how fluffy this roving is. In fact, it's kind of like that angora in that I have to put a towel on my lap or I end up covered in white fuzz. It's just that soft and silky. It does have, I don't know that it's, yeah, there you can see. Right here, see that little guard hair? So llama does have some guard hair to it, and they can run it through a dehairing machine. I did not, I told her that she could if she thought that would be best. And I guess, I don't know that she did. I don't remember seeing that on the order. So there is a little bit of that flyaway that will probably come out as the yarn is used. Some of that is just falling out. There is a little bit of vegetable matter, but honestly, the llama is so slick that all of that just pretty well falls out when I'm spinning. So I am working on a sample of that. I'm actually hoping, my intent with getting all this roving made was to be able to put it in my Fibercrafty shop eventually. But I want to go through and spin up samples of them just so I know what the fiber is like, that I'm happy with the quality of it, and then I can have some pictures to show what that roving can grow into. So here is another fine sample. And again, you can see a little bit of that fuzz. This was just my plyback sample. So this is what I keep on my wheel. So I have a target, I remember from the first of the spinning to the end, kind of what I'm plying to. And you can count I'm gonna get out of focus here, but you can see the little twists per inch, the little bumps there. And you can see how the guard hairs, like right there, kind of pop out a little bit. And honestly, when I have that spun, you can almost pull those guard hairs out. So this was a very good fleece as far as it didn't have a lot of guard hairs in it. But yeah, this has so much drape, and I think it's going to be really pretty to do some knitted lace. So I'm hoping to have llama. There's actually a category from the Missouri Llama Breeders Association, I believe it is, for a state fair. So I saw that and had completely forgotten that I had taken her a llama fleece. So when that came back, I thought, yay, I need to sample that anyway. So I took like a yard of the roving out, and I am working on spinning that up right now. So I have probably close to enough to do at least, I don't have a good way to accurately measure what I put onto the wheel, how much I've spun. So I usually end up over spinning my singles because I'm so nervous I won't have that 40 yards. So I'm still working on spinning my singles. I'm hoping to finish that tonight after I'm done recording, and then maybe tomorrow or the next day or two I can get that plied up and I'll have my sample for the llama category. And then I'm not exactly sure what will be next because, like I said, I have all of this roving. I have a Corriedale fleece that I got back, a beautiful Romney cross fleece that's a brown, the llama. I have a red brown, I can't remember if she's rose, I want to say rose fawn, alpaca blanket that I had made into roving, and that is going to be beautiful, I think. And then what else did I get back? I can't remember. But I also had a little bit, oh, BFL. I had a BFL with mohair. So I sent her a mohair fleece and a couple BFL fleeces. And I asked her to go ahead and blend that at about an 85-15% split on the blend. And I asked her to go ahead and make half of it into roving and then the other half to spin it into a fingering weight yarn. My intention was to have a non-nylon sock yarn that I could use, all Missouri grown, and like I said, the mill is just over the border in Kansas, now towards Wichita, Kansas, and then be able to dye that with my own natural dyes. And this is just 100 yard sample. She had some mill ends basically, and so this is what came back. It's really pretty yarn. It has not been washed yet, so it still has the mill oils in it, so it feels a little bit on the scratchy side, but just looking at it, and I took this out to my friend Darlene, who actually was her sheep, and she looked at it and we both agreed that it needs washed so that we can get the oil out of it that they use in the machinery. So I think it's going to soften up, and the only concern I have is, you can see it is a 2-ply, that's all they do, but I really think that is probably a little bit too loose to be a good durable sock yarn. I am anxious to get this washed up and knit up a swatch and see what it does. So I only had, I didn't get a whole lot. I only got about 10 skeins of this. So I was hoping for a little bit more than that. So I don't know if I will go ahead and just sell a few skeins or just keep it for myself. We'll see how it knits up. So all sorts of stuff going on in the spinning world. I'm really excited. The other project, kind of as a segue between spinning and knitting, I got my hat done. This is out of the Dorset horn or horn Dorset. I've heard it said both ways. I don't know which is correct. But that I had done from Covered Bridge Farms. This is the one that I started, I think, at least 3 times. And then I ran onto this pattern. And I had done this, and I think it's the Swirl top beanie. I will put the name here and a link below, like I usually do. So this is just a very simple spiral repeat. Every row is the same, easy peasy, a little bit of lace. The top is just a nice spiral, and I thought it showed up really nice. It's blowing out a little bit in the light I've got right now, but it doesn't, you can see the pattern without, it's just you can see the little yarn overs there. So it's just a yarn over, knit 2 together, free pattern on Ravelry. It calls for, I believe, 1.5 inches of ribbing. I had already done the longer ribbing for the pattern I had started with. And so I made the hat a little, it is a beanie style. I made the hat a little bit longer so I would have a deeper brim. So, and it's like I said, it's a beanie style. Let's see if I can destroy my hair the middle of June here and show you. It's just kind of a close fitting little beanie. So I am so happy to have it done, that I have found a pattern that would work. And like I said, I thought it showed the yarn and the color variegation didn't distract from it too much. And I am definitely going to use that pattern again. I had used it for a preemie hat project that our guild was doing, and I had made some. This thing is sized all the way from preemie up to an adult extra large. So it's a great pattern to have in your wheelhouse. Like I said, extremely easy repeat. So there you go. And thanks for those that gave me some pattern suggestions. I did look at all of those. I tried some of them, and in the end, this was just the easiest pattern that worked with this yarn. So, and maybe, like I said, if you have charity projects, this is a great free pattern to try. So that is my spinning into knitting. And I feel like I haven't accomplished as much knitting as I wanted to, but then when I started piling stuff together, I thought, oh my goodness, I really do have a lot of projects done or in the works. So one of them, to catch you up, I have finished and blocked my Songbird mittens. I had commented that my color work was not great. It was very ridgy, and several of you were very nice to say that blocking would help that. And although not perfect, it is so much better. Y'all were right. It did block out quite a bit. So I love the way they turned out. This is the Tuku wool that my parents got for me when they visited McKinney Knittery this spring. So there's the front, there's the backs. The thumbs have their own little design in true Selby mitten style, and yeah, just fun pattern. I so love doing the colorwork mittens. So if you want to try them, I highly recommend the pattern. And again, I'll put all the information below. So that's another project, and we'll probably go to State Fair for the mitten category. And then let's see. Oh, and then there's a sock category at the fair too. So if you have been with me since February, you may have seen, grab a blocker, you may have seen the pattern that I started for colorwork socks, the World's End by Lisa Ross, Paper Daisy Creations. And I had one sock finished at that point. I finished this for it was Down Syndrome Awareness Day on March 21st. So I had this one done, and I knew I wasn't going to finish the pair in time, so I just kind of set this aside. I think I was doing my birthday sock cast on, and I just never got back to this. So this morning, I was trying to decide what I wanted to enter in the fair, and I didn't really want to just put in some plain vanilla socks, although that seems to be mostly what I'm knitting. So I was trying to decide, and I have another skein of yarn that I had bought and wanted to get. I don't think I brought it over. Nope. I'll show you that when I get them cast on. But all of a sudden it hit me that I had never done the second sock of this pair. So that I think is going to be my fair entry this year. So this morning I went ahead and cast on a cuff. I have the cuff done. I'm ready to start the color work. The only hitch and what had been keeping me from restarting this pair for so long was I knew I had done the cuff on size 0, but I could not remember what size I went up to for the colorwork section. I couldn't remember. The pattern, I believe, calls for a size 2, and I couldn't remember if I had done a US 1 or 2. And I really wasn't sure I wanted to get into the colorwork and swatch or do a whole nother swatch just to figure it out. And then all of a sudden I remembered podcast. I had shown you the podcast, and I knew because I have different colors for my 0s and 1s, at least at the time. I've broken some of them now, but told you that story too. But I had different colors of sock needles. So I knew that if I watched the podcast, so I had to go all the way back to February's podcast this afternoon, watch enough of the episode, and I actually said what size needle I used. So yay, past me. So it was a size 0 for the cuff, and it was a size 0 2.5 millimeter needle that I was using for the colorwork. So now I can knit on with confidence using the same needle that I used on the other one, and hopefully my gauge hasn't changed, because we know that happens to me. So that's the next one that I'm going to be working on. And then y'all know that I had been talking endlessly about going to McKinney Knittery in McKinney, Texas. So we went to my niece's graduation, and I was able to sneak off for a morning and go down to McKinney, or up to McKinney, I guess. And McKinney is such a cute little town. I wish I'd had more time. I actually had a raging sinus headache that day. So I got there and it was like the colors, just about hurt my head, and I felt so bad. I was wandering around and the ladies there were wonderful, very helpful, and I would have loved to have spent more time interacting with them. But my goodness, that is the busiest yarn shop I think I've ever been in. There was a class going on in the back, so I couldn't really get to every yarn shelf because that classroom was packed. It was, I don't know, they had 10, 12 people in it, and like they had a table and then they had people set up in bar stools around the table too. Then there was another little, and it wasn't a big shop, but the other side there was just kind of a morning stitch and bitch type group. I think there was like 5 ladies there and they were so cute. It was busy enough, customers were in and out. It was so good to see such a busy local yarn shop, and I can totally tell why. So if you live in that area, oh my word, I'm jealous. But the other ladies that were just sitting on these little love seats were knitting away, and I was wandering by, and one of them said, "Honey, do you need something to drink? Can we help you? And we don't work here, but we're here all the time. We can help you if you need anything." They offered to go get me water, and it was so cute. And I loved the bag that they gave me. And it traveled well. But this back, my problem isn't that I buy too much yarn. My problem is I shop faster than I knit. How true, right? So I won't show you everything I got. That was right after my birthday, so I had a couple gift cards that I was able to take with me, and so I was able to do some purchasing. I actually got more needles than I did yarn, because they had a couple different needle brands, including some I had not used, Knit Pro Zings. So I've told you before about my problems with, I love to use wood needles, but I have broken so many here lately. So I thought I would try the Zings. So I got Zings this is the 2.25, and I got 2.0. And they sell West Yorkshire spinners. So I have never knit with West Yorkshire spinners, but I hear about people talking about it all the time. So I got some of their signature 4-ply. They didn't have a lot. They were only about maybe 5 colorways to choose from. And this was the one that I thought would come closest to working with the clothes that I wear, the colors that I like. So I cast on the way home. And that night was my niece's graduation, and we had to be there about an hour and a half early. So I worked on a sock at my niece's graduation. Not during the graduation, I'm not that kind of aunt, but the hour beforehand, I was able to get about this much done. And then at her party that evening, I got a little bit more done because really it was just a few friends she invited over and they weren't really wanting the adults around. So I knit a little bit more. And then the next morning when we left for home, I actually knit all the way down to here. I was almost ready for the toe when I got home. So this will be my pair of socks that I remember that weekend by. So I had 1 full sock done, and this is just, I've used it, this has almost become my vanilla recipe. It's Vanilla is the New Black with the ribbed heel. So now I will say that I have my first pair of Vanilla is the New Black socks, and I noticed that I was getting a lot of pilling. I am a very cold person, cold-natured. So I wear and where I work is always cool for me. So honestly, I wear my wool socks every day, all year long. So they get some pretty tough use. And I usually wear leather shoes, and they get a lot of rubbing here. So I noticed that this first pair of socks that I had, the heel was starting to show some wear. More pilling than actual like wearing through, but it made me wonder, and if anybody has a solution, I am all ears. It made me wonder if you have to go, I have darned many a sock, But it made me wonder with this rib pattern, how would I darn that? A knitted on patch wouldn't exactly work, I don't think. So I'm not really sure. And it kind of made me pause just a little bit because, like I said, I do like to go back and darn my socks, especially if it's just a small spot. So if you have ideas, let me know. But I really like this. It is not an overly soft yarn, very much like, and I've heard it compared to like a Regia or Opal. Definitely has that feel to it, but I think it's going to be a hard wearing sock. So I'm very glad that I did go ahead and give West Yorkshire Spinners a chance. And then, like I said, I do have the second second sock started. This needs to be my purse knitting. I need to get it away from my knitting chair, honestly. That I decided that this afternoon because I wanted to pick that up because, you know, it's just a knit at this point, and I really need to be working on some of like the color work stuff that I've got because I had a little bit more birthday money left over, and I had seen the Harriet's hat, which is the hat that was made by or commissioned in partnership, I guess, with Jamieson and Smith for the Shetland Islands, is working on getting an MRI scanner on the island. Great project, as best I can tell. I haven't done a lot of vetting on it, but definitely something that, living in a small town, I remember when we actually got on the route in our little town, we have a very tiny little community hospital, and if you needed an MRI, you had to go to the city. And I even remember when the closest city had their first MRI scanner, I believe. So for a lot of people, it was traveling an hour minimum, if not two, to be able to get an MRI done if you needed it. So it's kind of a big deal, and especially if you're sick. And on the Shetland Islands, they do not have one at all. So not only does it take an hour or two drive, but it's usually flying. So if you're in a position where you're sick, you need an MRI done, traveling, especially air travel, is not really what you're looking for. It's an all day, miss a whole day of work. So anyway, I'll put the link to the campaign below, and if that's something that you're interested, the pattern, and I'll go ahead and show you this. I actually saw the pattern pop up on Ravelry before I knew what it was for, and I was really taken with the hat pattern. I love the colors. The pattern is just really pretty, and then I found out the story behind it. So you can buy the pattern. I believe it's £4, British pounds, and that's just through the website for the MRI scanners. But that is, yeah, right there, price £4. I was right. So you buy this separately. I would have loved to have gotten a hard copy of it, but I did go ahead and print that out. And then the Woolly Thistle was putting together the Jamieson and Smith kits for the hat. So I used the last of my birthday money, and sorry, it's kind of glaring, but you can see the colors. And those are the colors that Harriet actually used to design the hat. So, and there is the story. I'll put it in the link here with the pattern for Harriet's story. And she was one that was having to frequently get MRIs, I believe, from a cancer diagnosis, and making frequent trips. So when she heard about this campaign, she was, and again, the story is with the link, much better in her words, but basically she was knitting hats to sell, the finished hats and headbands and such, that she would be able to donate for raising money. And then somebody, and I don't remember the story, but somebody said, well, let's go ahead and do the pattern because knitters all over the world would be interested in helping out. So I love it when people use their time, their talents. I mean, this is a beautiful hat. To be able to support causes that are important to them, and ones that I can definitely get behind as well. So that is, and I believe all the proceeds for the pattern goes to the MRI scanner. And then I don't want to misquote, but Woolly Thistle is also I don't know if it's all the proceeds, profits, exactly what, but she is making a donation for the purchase of the yarn. And Jamieson and Smith is also, and again, I don't remember if it's all of it, some of it, or if it's just for these colors or what, but Jamieson Smith, the company themselves, is making a donation too for people that purchase the yarn to make the hat. So this is just Jamieson and Smith. It's the 2-ply jumper weight and 6 skeins. I am really itching to cast this on, but I have got to get some other things off of the needles or I'm going to go nuts. I don't like having too many projects. And right now I think this might be the record number of socks that I've ever had on the needles all at the same time. So I need to get a few things finished, but this is just sitting there on my coffee table staring at me. So it won't be long, hopefully, before I get this. I think the needles I need are kind of occupied by another project right now, so that's helping me be responsible-ish. So there's Harriet's hat. Wow, so lots of little things, couple finished objects. So I was definitely busy this month. I did, if you saw last episode, I showed some pictures of shearing day at my friend Darlene's house. We sheared 10, 12, something like that, sheep that day. I didn't shear. My friends and I go over, and one of my friends, her husband helps the shearer. Her kids do a lot of the running and sweeping and all of that. And then there's Darlene and Colleen and Melissa and I, and then usually a couple people that come to observe and that have never seen shearing before. And they'll kind of stand along the fence, and then the 4 of us get around the skirting table and we skirt the fleeces as they're brought off the sheep. And oh my goodness, just to reach into the whole fleece when it's still warm right off the sheep's back. It was a lovely day. We had so much fun just laughing and working. So that was the video that I showed at the end last time, and when I was editing I thought, oh my goodness, I never even told you what that was. The other thing is, as we're skirting these fleeces, generally speaking, we're buying them. So my friend Colleen really likes the colored. Darlene's sheep are BFL, Romney, Cross, and she had a couple that were Lincoln Cross as well. But most of them are BFL, and then some have Romney in them. She has beautiful fleeces. So Colleen was taking the colored ones for the most part. She really likes the silver gray. Darlene has beautiful colored BFL. And so she took the colored fleeces that she wanted, and I took the other 2 that she didn't. They were kind of like 2 that were the one color, very, very similar colors, and 2 that were a little bit different shade of gray. So I took the other 2 gray fleeces and 3 white ones, and sent them with Darlene to Iowa Sheep and Wool this weekend, and she is taking them to a mill, and Darlene, Colleen, and I are all going to have wool processed into roving. I'm going to talk to the owner and give him a call this week after he gets the fleeces and just see if there would be a chance that I would be able to do kind of like I did this last time and have part of it spun into yarn. I don't want to spin it all because it's expensive for one thing, and I want to have the fun of spinning it as well. So I won't have it all processed into yarn, but I will definitely have a lot of roving that I will hopefully be able to share. I went over a few days ago because I had to put work orders in each bag, each fleece, just to let the mill know what the fleece was, tag it, what I wanted to have done with it, contact information, all of that. And we had to weigh the fleeces. When all was said and done, I have 46 pounds of fleece. That's raw weight. So we'll lose anywhere from 40% I think is on those fleeces, about what she has had in the past. But even up to 50% can be. And we skirted them pretty hard when we were doing them that day. So, oh my goodness, when I saw the total weight on all those fleeces, I about panicked, but I'm excited to have them back. They were lovely, lovely fleeces. So I have got to get spinning. I have got to break records for me on Tour de Fleece and keep working on that because I am going to drown in fleece, otherwise in roving. And I do plan to put some of that up on my Fibercrafty shop as well when I get it all weighed out and all that. So I plan to share some of that. And let's see. Oh my goodness, garden is just about a bust this year. We have had, I think, between 17 and 18 inches of rain in the month of May. And last night, or this morning, we had another almost 2 inches. Our garden has been underwater multiple times. In fact, the day that we were leaving to go to my brother's house for the graduation, which was Memorial Day weekend, we were supposed to leave that morning, but we had to pack up the chickens to take with us to my brother's. We had 14 chickens we were going to take to him, just about 6 weeks old. So, you know, they were about this big. So it was raining that morning, and we decided to go ahead and wait. It was supposed to be out by 8, 9 o'clock. So we decided to hold off and just get a little bit later start so that we wouldn't have to be packing up these chickens in the rain. So by 9 o'clock, the water was over my road. It was up to my foundation. It never actually came in the house. So I was very, very thankful for that. But it was all the way up to my foundation. It took till about noon, and it had stopped raining. And by about 11:30, it was starting to recede. So we were able to leave about noon, but it took us that long because the water was quite high and the garden was, the lower end of it was definitely all underwater. So I planted a lot of dye flowers from seed, things like Ami or Queen Anne's lace, a bunch of coreopsis and calendulas. I had planted all of that from seed just a couple days before, and they all washed out, drowned out. So those were all gone. We thought the tomatoes were all going to be goners too, but they are starting to come out of it. The only problem is because we thought they were goners, we went ahead and started new plants. So now we may have several hundred tomato plants in our garden, which is okay because the green beans totally flooded out. We got a couple small pickings of green peas off of our pea plants, and then, as often happens here, it went from cold and rainy to hot and sunny, and the pea plants just all died. I started to harvest garlic yesterday. I harvested all of my elephant garlic, and oh, that stuff is fun. They are this big. And mine aren't even as big as they can be. But I was able to harvest those, and they are curing in our greenhouse. And hopefully this week I'll have a chance that I can start harvesting the rest of the garlic. And then as soon as we get that out, we'll be planting different things. And I'm not sure exactly what we'll plant in there. It may have to be our tomato plants, just because we have so many we need to find homes for. So, but really, garden, I haven't been working in my garden like I normally would be. So that's pretty much what I've been up to. So it seems like there's 1,000 other things. I've had a lot of construction going on at my house, and I've got more yet to come. And so I try working on things, and then I have to gather it all up, and then I try working. So things have just been a little bit chaotic. Like I said, I'm really sorry I didn't podcast 2 weeks ago like I intended to. And oh my goodness, every podcaster I've ever heard that had a week they couldn't podcast, and they come back and say, you know, it's really hard. I've forgotten everything I thought I knew from last, and it feels like the first episode all over. They're right. This was hard to put this together, and I'm sorry it's scrambled. I have no notes, but it was this or nothing, I'm afraid. So thank you for bearing with me. I will put all of my contact information at the end. I will put all of the links to the things that I've shown you below, and hopefully next time I'll have more stuff on time. I will be able to do it as I scheduled. And yeah, so what are you guys working on? What kind of knitting carries you into summer? I'd love to know. Leave me some comments. Let me know what you're working on. Are you going to be in Tour de Fleece this year? If so, what teams are you spinning on? What kind of goals do you have? Thank you for joining me. Thank you for your encouragement. And I pray that your gathering basket would overflow with blessings for the next couple weeks until I see you again. Thank you. Bye for now.